Pancracia.
Hola, bien, ¿y tú?
Bien, aquí esperando tu hija que termine la cena.
Pues sí, no se ha tardado ni mucho.
No, y
pues no ha llegado María, la estamos esperando.
no, quizás ya va a venir María. Esa será ella. Hola, pasen.
Hola.
Traje a mi amiga.
Hola. Hola.
Pancracia, ¿cómo estás?
Bien, ¿y tú?
Muy bien. Traje a mi amiga.
Hola.
Hola, mucho gusto. Soy Magdalena. Mucho gusto, soy Lupe. Siéntese, por favor. ¿Cómo has estado?
Muy cansada, la verdad. Es que trabajamos mucho y nos pagan poquito, y por ser mujeres no nos respetan en el trabajo. Y como les dije, a los hombres les pagan mucho más que a nosotros.
Muy bien, aquí. Pues ¿cuántas horas trabajan? Trabajamos 10 horas al día, 6 días a la semana.
Ay, pues estoy igual que ustedes porque ni lo que trabajo, las mismas horas, gano suficiente para mis 6 hijos, que son 3 varones y 3 niñas.
Pues tú tienes 6, yo tengo 12 y mi esposo nomás me maltrata todo el día y no me deja hacer nada, nomás me pone a cocinar todo el día y cuidar a los niños.
Qué mal.
Sí, no me trata muy bien, es muy machista y no me gusta cómo están las mujeres tratadas en esta vida. Están terribles.
Muy bien.
Ya vamos a tener que descansar.
Sí, tienes razón.
Bueno,
Gracias, entonces.
fue mucho gusto conocerla.
Sí, mucho gusto.
Sí, para la otra vez.
Para otra vez nos vemos.
Bye.
Otra vez nos vemos.
¿Y Aurelia dónde está?
Pues no sé, ahorita va a regresar.
Oh, está bien, me la saluda.
Sí, yo le digo.
Cuídense y saludos a
Bye.
su familia.
Aurelia, ¿cómo estás?
Bien, ¿y tú?
Bien.
Te miras un poco triste. ¿Tienes algo?
No, nomás estoy un poco, me siento mal. ¿Vienes a visitar a Pancracia?
Sí, por un ratito.
Oh, sí, ahí está con su hermana.
Hola, ¿y quién es ella?
Es mi amiga Magdalena.
Mucho gusto.
Sí.
Bueno,
tenemos
Aurelia.
que ir, es que me siento bien mal.
Ok, luego te vemos. Mucho gusto.
Sí, bye. Bye.
Hola, Pancracia. Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Bien, ¿y tú?
Entra, aquí está Lupe. Mira, aquí está Lupe.
Hola, ¿cómo estás? Oh, felicidades.
Pues
Siéntate. ¿Estás feliz que digamos? ¿Por qué?
Pues fíjate que el jefe fui abusada.
No, eso no puede.
No te preocupes, amiga.
No
¿Cómo
puede-
no me voy a preocupar? Perdón. Ni tengo derechos de mujer, no puedo hacer nada y si les digo no me van a creer.
Pero por eso todas nosotras necesitamos juntarnos. Porque esto no puede seguir así. Es que de veras me saca coraje que trabajamos muchas horas y nadie nos pone atención solo porque somos mujeres.
Sí, imagínate. No sé qué voy a hacer con esta criatura, ni hago mucho dinero. Y tengo otros hijos en la casa que ni pueden ir a la escuela, no pueden hacer nada.
Que me saca mucho coraje.
Y a mí también.
No es justo. Necesitamos llamar a Magdalena y a María para que aquí todas nos juntemos. Esto no puede seguir así. Necesitamos hacer una organización.
Ven, toma agua, cálmate un poquito. Yo no quiero agua. ¿Quiero ver cómo estoy? Pues que hagas cosas así. Yo también estoy en el mismo problema. Tú no eres la única. Mi esposo me maltrata, siempre me tiene cocinando, no me trata bien. Ya me voy con mi cuarto, ya me cansé.
Okay. Bye. What happened?
Who hurt you?
Oh. Here.
Why is it
Why is
on the
it
floor?
here?
Oh my God, sit down. We need to talk.
What? Why do you have a bruise? What's wrong with your
Can't
arm?
believe. Look at
My
you.
husband, he hurt me. He threw me on the floor because I didn't have food ready for him.
Where is
Wow,
he?
that's unfair. We should do something about
Where
it.
is he?
No, I'm scared. I'm scared to tell anyone. I'm really, really scared.
You shouldn't. We have rights to speak up and do
I know, but sometimes men have more rights than women, and I'm just afraid they're gonna tell us no, that we don't have rights and they won't listen to us.
We have to go to the organization that I heard of. We have to go and tell them what can they do for you. I'm pretty sure they have resources for women just like you.
Yeah, they've
Some
been helping
families.
me, right? They've been
Yeah.
helping me.
So
We're pretty sure they can help you too.
Aurelia has been helped a lot.
Do you feel better now?
Yes, I do.
Because I'm
You should
very
go.
afraid he's gonna.
You need to look for help. We have organizations like Mujeres en Soledad that have helped me become empowered by their message to the women to become independent of what the situation, no matter what the situation is, we can be helped. Give us some support that will help us increase the chances of some help of becoming our own voice and not depending on a man to be that voice for us. But we have to speak up for ourselves.
Yeah, you should really consider that because look at me, for example, they rape me and they're still making me work and they don't care about my situation. So I say you go to an organization so they can help you. They help women.
So I see that many women have been going through the same experience as you have and the same experience you have. I feel like we should really do something about it.
She's right. We need to actually protest for this cause. I mean, look what they did to me. I mean, I didn't have any equal rights as males. I mean, I was paid a misery. I could say it's a misery to be paid for a factory worker who works every day for extra hours that are not necessary for a woman like me. And for my kids, that I don't even have enough to feed them. And my husband was practically useless. He walked out on me a long time ago. But look what happened to you.
Yeah, like I agree with you because we have the first woman testimony. Can you please give us your life story as a watermelon woman, emphasizing the struggles you faced at work, home, and the things you saw while working with Indigenous people?
Well, my life has not been the easiest, but I have managed to survive my experiences. I was raised in a family of 4 with a single parent. As you can see, I was raised without a father.
I began to work at the age of 15 to help my mother provide for me and my siblings. I worked at a cotton field with my sister, and we would wake up at 5 in the morning just to go to work. I would pick 100 pounds of cotton and be paid 1 cent per pound. As a cotton picker, I can say it was very hard and difficult and very tiring. We had to work in the rain, we had to work in the sun, regardless of the weather. Indigenous people were discriminated by their race, while women were discriminated for their gender, for the simple fact that they were women, that they weren't good enough.
Some of the challenges I faced as a woman while working at the cotton field was that sometimes the foreman would take advantage of us, women. For example, sometimes they would make us use the plow by ourselves to pick up the cotton left behind. Sometimes airplanes would fly above us and they would spray pesticides over the workers. And some of the workers would even get The cotton that the indigenous people picked was weighed on a different scale. The indigenous families worked as a family because even little kids worked. Little 5-year-olds will work together. And it was pretty sad to see that because they're kids and they're already working at 5 years. You know, I started working at 15 years. But just seeing all these little kids.
It was so sad because they were so young and they were already working.
However, after 7 years of working at a cotton field, many things didn't work out for me anymore. So also, besides that, I would work with my mother at a restaurant, her restaurant. And besides that, I would plant corn and chile with my stepfather, who treated us very bad. My mother got married when I was like 17. And she listened to him, so I decided to move out of my house. And I went to work at an upper class family where they paid me better. And I raised this little girl, which one day she told me that she saw me as a second mother because her mother wasn't really there for her. I was there for her. I raised her. She knew me more than she knew her mother, which I found pretty sad. But the mother didn't need me anymore, so I moved away. And unfortunately, I made the huge mistake to run away with a boyfriend. With my boyfriend, I thought my life was going to change for good, but no. My life turned out to be sad, and it changed my whole life. He wanted me to get pregnant, he wanted a family, but for some reason I didn't get pregnant right away. We tried, but it just didn't work out. So he started hitting me. He would say that I wasn't woman. And after a couple of months, I finally made the decision to leave him. And it was hard because I loved him. It was the worst time to leave him. Because right when I left him, I discovered I was pregnant. But I didn't tell him right away because I was scared of him. I indeed thought he would kill me, or not because of the baby, but I was just scared of him because of the hell I lived with him. It was just so sad.
Thanks for your testimony. Your testimony is so important because you're someone who lived and outlived the Civil War experience, discrimination based on your gender. Let's give a round of applause. We will now hear from another testimony, and she will discuss her experience from a different point of her life.
Having me today, and yes, I do recall an experience during the Civil War as a child, living with my father who was a foreman. And I do recall my father, I had an experience as a child that my father was against Indians because he thought they were dumb, lazy, drunk, and they didn't have the same intelligent capacity that we did because I am a Spanish descendant, and he thought of us as more of a higher class status than the Indians themselves. So I remember once I was a little girl, as I said, and I was in my room, and I heard a child crying in the sheds. And the sheds, it was a place I couldn't go in. So I heard the child cough, and it just shocked me. And I was curious what was going on. But then the next day, I heard the same, if not even more children crying, about 5 children crying, and it was a non-stop coughing. Next week, after that, I heard all the children that were living in that same area who were working who are Indians, but their families were working for my father, if not also them included. But I remember that they were all crying, and it was horrible. I remember as a child I had an experience while in my own house because there was a shed near my house where the Indians worked and lived near that area because my father was their foreman. And they obviously had children, so at night I once heard a child
coughing, and I couldn't resist to think what was going on. But as the young child I couldn't really make sense of the situation, other than the child was sick. And then, but the next day, I heard more children coughing heavily, and I couldn't. I mean, it was like a bad dream because I was scared. I couldn't acknowledge why were these children coughing so much. But the next week, I heard all the children that were in the sheds. They were coughing tremendously, and I believe they got the whooping cough. So I was terrified. So I ran to my father at last, and he kind of shrugged it off because I recall and I remember clearly, distinctively, that he got my arm and he put me back to bed, and I will never forget this. But he told me, "Don't worry, they're not children, they're Indians." As I got older, I realized my father's own ideals were the ones that were making the Guatemalan people, Indigenous people, feel inferior, because he thought of them as Indians who just didn't deserve anything but to work daily for extra hours and just unfair working conditions. And I realized that his principles weren't what I wanted it to be for my own life. And so, but my own struggle wasn't actually living through those same experiences that the Guatemalan people did, but it was more rather associating myself with organizations of human and social equality that prevented me from actually associating with them, because some of the people in the organization saw distrust in me, and they couldn't really gain that confidence in me because they saw me as somebody different, because I was of a higher class and they were of, well, according to my father, lower class, and of course they probably thought I felt the same way, but that was not the case. But ultimately, I did follow through with the organization, and I helped provide for the people in terms of just getting the word out there about unfair working conditions, and just believing that we're not all unequal, but we're all equal, men and women together. Associating myself with these organizations, the people in that organization already, and I was included, we realized we had a common goal, and that was the Guatemalan people, Indigenous people, to have equal rights, and that's what we were working towards. And I'm proud to be part of the organization because it gives me. The organization and I realized that we had a common goal, and that was to help the Guatemalan Indigenous people to gain their rights as humans themselves, and also social equality. And for that purpose, I am proud to be part of the organizations like these, because it just gives me a glimpse of hope and to aspire to help these people know what their rights are, and to let them know that they shouldn't be afraid of speaking up, especially women, and that their struggles are just as important as anything else. The organization and I are working for a common cause of Guatemalan Indigenous people, because we feel that everybody, not just them, deserve equal rights, and it's within the best interest of everybody that we all deserve respect and dignity for who we are and where we come from, and not be classified as less or more than the other groups, just like my father thought he had taught me. Referring back to my childhood and my life now as an adult, I am more than ecstatic, if not even overjoyed, with the progress that the organizations that I've participated in have come across, and the solutions we are working towards for the human interests and the human rights in general of everybody, and hope that we even gather even more people to come and join us for this new movement that we hope will change society and their outlook on people that are Indigenous. Thank you for giving your testimonies and opening up about your experiences as women in Guatemala.
with two victims who have suffered abuse and violence due to their gender roles and are here today to tell us about their experiences. Men in Guatemala are one of the largest groups of people who are targeted and taken advantage of due to their gender roles in society today. We have two guests with us today, two women speakers who will talk to us about what they went through and how they overcame that by turning their negatives into a positive. Today we have with us a speaker who suffered from violence while living with her husband. She is one of the many of women who have go through this every day.
Yeah, and for many years I was abused by my husband.
How would he abuse?
Well, he would abuse me physically and emotionally. For an example, he would always like to hit me. I once had a bruise in my eye for a very long time because I didn't have food in the house, because I didn't obligate his rules, and he always thought it was okay for him to hit me.
Why do you think he thought it was okay?
Well, because as a man, like, the power towards him would be, I'm the man of the house, I do the rules, you do as you do.
You do as I say?
Yeah, you do as I say, I'm sorry. But yeah, and I was just very confused with life, and I just didn't know what to do anymore, because as a woman I felt very weak, I felt hopeless, I felt useless, I couldn't do anything about it, and yeah, that was practically my life for a very long time.
Do you think society played a role in why you thought you couldn't do anything about it? Like, because women like you suffer like this every day.
Yeah.
It wasn't nothing unusual to you. So why do you think society made it seem like it was okay to be abused by?
Well, like I said earlier, like, men are just seen as more powerful, and I just think that women should be seen as powerful women.
Take action before. Did you ever think of taking action or doing something about it?
Well, I actually did. Like, one of the things I did was I went to the police station and I tried to report my husband, like, abusing me and how, like, he was hurting me, and like the officers thought it was okay. Like, they were actually on his side other than my side, and they thought, oh, since he's hurting you and abusing you, like, it's okay. Like, they didn't see anything wrong with that, and I felt very, like, scared, and I didn't know what to do when I was in that point in my life.
Did you also have, like, fear of retaliation?
Yes,
like, scared
of
that your
course.
husband was gonna do something?
Yeah, of course. I was, like, very scared. I was scared if I did something about it, he would kill me, take away my kids.
It says here that you joined a group of Mujeres de la Solidaridad.
Yeah,
How did that help you?
Well, at first I was, like I said before, I was very scared. I didn't know what to do. And I thought of joining that because I heard about many women that have gone through that same path as me. So then once I joined it, I met very, like, different.
So what would be your advice to other women who are going through this?
Well, my advice for all these women would be to not give up and, like, to stay strong, that they could overcome their fear as I did myself, and there is no such thing as men being powerful and men being the ones that are taking the role in the house, and women need to clean, and women need to listen to their husbands or else they'll get hit. Women should make a stop to that and make society different, make men
Take a stand.
make men think differently and make women think differently, and society shouldn't
Contribute to their beliefs.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you for sharing your story with us. I know it takes a lot of courage to come out here and tell the world what you've gone through.
Yeah, it was my pleasure.
Next, we have a woman who also went through her own struggles of domestic violence, but managed to turn her negatives into a positive by becoming a woman activist and inspiring women today. Did you take legal action when it happened?
Well, at first I did it because I was really afraid. I mean, he had already physically abused me, so I thought he would be
He wouldn't end up blaming it on you, like saying it was your fault.
Yeah, basically. So I was really afraid of making an action towards it.
So what prompted you to become an activist?
Well, I actually had this friend that had told me about her experience also, and she was physically abused by her husband as well, and she had many kids, and it made me realize that many of us women shouldn't be going through that we should speak up, and that we have the power to do what we think is wrong, to speak up to what we think is right. And this one that helped you? Well, it has provided me with resources that have helped me overcome what I went through. It was nothing easy, but I can say now that I have the power to speak up for myself.
Well, thank you for coming and sharing your story with us. It was lovely meeting you. Thank you. It's important that women take action, because if women don't have their voice heard, then this issue is still gonna keep on going, and no one's gonna do anything about it but the person